My name is Caroline Brennan. I'm an adult tutor for the Adult Education Service Dunleary. I completed my UDL badge in 2022 and hoping to complete the facilitator badge in the near future. It is an individual entry. Just a little bit about our learners. So we have a wide variety of learners all over the age of 18. That is the Adult Education Service. Some of our learners will have dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD, various different types of learning disabilities, and some will have intellectual disabilities as well. When we do an INA with them, sometimes this will be disclosed with us and we can talk about how we can support those learners, but sometimes the learners don't know themselves because it is not assessed. So we can then at that stage help support them as they progress through their classes and it becomes recognised by the staff. Some of our learners are ESOL students who might have a very high level of education but are here to improve their English language skills. We run courses that are non-accredited and accredited from QQI level 2 to 5, so sometimes they will participate in other subjects just so they can improve their vocabulary, they can improve their writing skills, their comprehension, and mixing in with native English speakers and integrating into the community as well. Some of our learners, even though they are learning in the class, the greater benefit is actually socialization. So learning how to manage their time, being on time for class, what is appropriate behaviour in the class and what is not appropriate behaviour in the class. And we have a huge amount of learners who are coming to improve their digital skills as well. So the Adult Education Service is actually located in the Loughlinstown Training Centre. We are a separate service within it, and you can see our reception and the wide range of courses available to our students. We primarily focus on literacy and numeracy, so that can be phonics, it can be spelling, it can be grammar, or it can be integrated into budgeting skills, environmental awareness, and various other subjects like that. So when we're talking about digital skills with this particular cohort, we're talking about basic skills. So learning how to use your smartphone, how to send a text, how to use a tablet, how to use a website, what is an app, how to download it and use it, and actually the basics of using a computer. This is the classroom that we taught the course in that we're going to talk about today. It's nice and spacious. There is room for group discussion and there's also room for me to circulate around for one-to-one work as well. So if we look at the organisational structure in DDL-ETB, they're really promoting CPD. They run a lot themselves. They're very supportive in terms of UDL and undertaking the UDL badge. Our adult literacy organiser, Carol Neville, is also incredibly supportive and is very learner focused as well. So she is really supportive with this project in terms of actually recognising a need for it, setting everything up, and also ordering equipment and tools that the learners might need to do the course itself. So there was a need identified by Caro in terms of assistive technology, both for tutors and for learners. So ultimately what happened was I created teaching materials and learning materials, a manual or booklet for tutors with editable PowerPoints for each topic, and a 6-week course for learners in how to use assistive technology. So in the planning stage, really what we wanted to do was to reduce the barriers for tutors and for learners in terms of learning and using assistive technology. So at this level, tutors are typically responsible for creating, teaching and learning materials. Most literacy materials are too childish or not applicable for adult life. Printed digital skills materials can date very quickly, so we really wanted to help our tutors by creating them for them, that they could then take them and edit them and use them in a way that suited them. We wanted to improve technical knowledge for our tutors and learners in terms of assistive technology. Assistive technology assumes that you know how to use technology, and a lot of our learners simply don't. So something that should be assisting them, that should be making their life easier, actually complicates things. It's not intuitive whatsoever. And there is a real fear around technology, getting something wrong. So we wanted to help support them with this. We also wanted to increase awareness in terms of assistive technology, what is out there, and allow it to become standard practice in all classes, not just for specific learners who needed it or requested it. Ultimately, to help our tutors understand and teach learners how to use assistive technology as part of our regular classes. So by doing this, it normalises it. And the more we talk about it, the more we use our UDL principles, it normalises that and it encourages tutors to undertake the badge as well. So we wanted to create that manual, the learning materials in formats that suited both tutors and learners. And we wanted to target specific learners with specific learning needs because we wanted feedback on it. So what was actually beneficial for those learners. So we had that goal for our tutors. So in terms of supports, for the tutors with lower digital skills, that they could in turn understand assistive technology, the benefits of it, how they can use it in their classroom as a teaching and an assessment tool. So to provide materials that they can teach with to support their learners and supporting them to understand UDL and to have the tools to provide UDL in their classroom. So if we look at the goals for learners, really to help them become more familiar with the different types of assistive technology, to test them out in a supportive environment with other learners that they can share their experience and opinions with, providing a sense of community, to understand what works best for them, to be able to use these pieces of technology or apps in future classes to help improve their learning experience, and to complete this 6-week course, which was 2 hours a week. So if we look at the timeline, it started in October. We had a discussion with the ALO, Carol Neville, and the Adult Educational Officer, Maria Culbert. I did some research. I did the digital badge, the master badge with a head. I did some CPD with Numeracy Meets. They ran a series of webinars which were excellent. And then DDL-ETB actually ran a webinar in terms of supporting learners with autism in the classroom. We sent a questionnaire out to tutors just to see where they're at and what they would like to learn about. I compiled some information based on that, sent questionnaires to learners, and then I was able to generate materials based on identified learner needs. I created PowerPoints that doubled as printouts for the learners in the class. I created a report or materials for tutors, and then based on feedback, I created videos and uploaded those to YouTube so they could be sent as links to students and to tutors as well. So then I taught the assistive technology class. I shared insights with the tutors based on what I'd learned from that, and shared resources with them as well. So that's just evidence of my AHEAD CPD. And one of the things as well as learning about assistive technology, the legislation. Learning around that was really important because I don't think tutors actually understand how much of an onus is on them to be able to impart information, but also to assess, taking into consideration all the diverse needs of the students in the class as well. So having a little look at the questionnaire that was sent out to the tutors, it really was kind of seeing where are you at the moment, and what would you like to learn about. So everyone said that assistive technology was something that I'd like to learn about, and in terms of how you'd like this information shared with you, online videos, videos on demand, in person, and printed materials. So of course we followed that feedback and made sure that I had materials that would suit them. We also consulted with the learners, and we're going to talk about this feedback in the next section, but they assisted in the curriculum design based on their feedback that we did in the first section. So we're going to talk about, flexibility, choice, engagement, and the implementation of the project itself. So we looked at what was most important to the learners, and we prioritised that, and then worked our way through other topics that they felt were important. I also gave them an opportunity to add to the conversation. So we discussed a range of tools and assistive technology we were going to look at, and then is there anything else not mentioned you'd like to know more about? Now, I had to kind of manage their expectations in terms of Braille. We had a 6-week course. We had no students who had any sight impairments. So I had to kind of say, well, it's nice to know about, but we will get to it if possible. But there was a student who had hearing aids, and we were able to show her how to pair or with Bluetooth, how to connect that to her laptop, which was really useful, and play around with the settings on that in terms of background noise. That was really useful for her. So that was something that we added in that was really useful to her. Again, we checked what resources help you learn best. So printouts was top of the list, which I was surprised at, which we were able to provide for them, no problem. So they were visual and they were text-based. And then videos. So again, I created instructional videos, very short videos and very precise videos. So it was very specific, and they could just watch it in a minute or two and see about that particular type of assistive technology. So tools that we ordered in. So we got in new smartphones, a C Pen, headphones, so there wasn't a lot of noise when we were using things like Read Aloud in the class, new tablets. We got a microphone so we could do assessments verbally and not worry about sound quality. We got new computers, we got a new visualizer so I could do something on the smartphone and students could see it in real time. These are the PowerPoints that I created that I shared with the other tutors and were printed out and given to the students. And this is the manual or the book that I have created that has been sent to all the other tutors. So in this book, at each section, there's a glossary of terms. So there's the icon, there's the explanation, and it kind of just explains a little bit about the technical jargon as well, just to kind of demystify that. In the contents, there is an approximate reading time for each section, just to help the tutors plan how much time they're going to need to get through that. There's a little bit of background information on diverse needs. So if tutors are unfamiliar with the traits of dyslexia, of dyspraxia, of dyscalculia, there's a little bit more support in there for them as well, and an explanation of the types of assistive technology. So it doesn't all have to be high tech. It can be something very simple like a pencil grip. I also signposted what are we going to learn in this section. So that is in the PowerPoint, that is in the manual, but it was also gone through at the start of every class as well. So what we were going to learn was made very clear to the learners. In the manual itself and in the printouts for the learners, I completed the action using the piece of assistive technology, screenshotted it, and then labelled it as well. So there's both visual and text for the learners and the tutors. And this is the YouTube playlist, so 24 videos in total. And at the end of each class, I sent a link based on that topic. So there's 1 or 2 videos sent every week, and we kind of chunked information like that rather than sending the full playlist in one go. So if we look at our UDL guidelines, we have why, we have how, we have what, and when they all collide, we get a bit of magic in the classroom with UDL. So if we apply that or see how that applied to my project, so the why, how I got my learners interested, so it was learner driven, what would you like to learn about, it was very self-motivated, and it was helpful for them to understand themselves, what was going to be useful for them. The how, it was through discussion, there was very clear communication of skills, what you're going to learn on this course. There was constant feedback, so there was feedback session at the end of each class and verbally throughout, and of course at the end of the course itself. There was a lot of group discussion, there was varied tools to enable different ways to communicate, there was a lot of support through the class. So as well as verbal communication, the learners were encouraged to contact me through email. So if they had any questions after the class, they could contact me through email at any time, and then we would either address it one-to-one or address it through the class itself. And the learners, of course, worked at their own pace as well, to their own abilities. So the what, there was varied supports, there was demonstration in class, there was a glossary of terms provided, there was a printout with screenshots, there was text, there was videos for visual and auditory learners, there was learner-led discussion, there was pair work. So they had new resources and techniques to help them learn in their other classes. So this is an example of that continuous feedback. So what have you learned today in the class? So what I teach and what the learners perceive can sometimes be 2 different things. So it's good for me to kind of get a gauge of what landed and what didn't. I had to use a double negative here because we actually spend a lot of time and effort and energy with our learners and building a positive relationship. So sometimes with feedback, they'll just say, great, great, great. But we actually wanted them to read or hear and see the question being asked. So I put a double negative here to make sure that they're really kind of focused on that. So strongly disagree. I don't think I will use this, because again, we all the way throughout, we're saying we want honest feedback about this. So if we have a little look at the UDL guidelines, I just want to talk briefly about where I feel I hit on these guidelines with the project. So if we look at 7.1, learners could pick websites of their choice to practice read aloud, adapt speech settings, change the colour and background settings on the screen. Learners were equipped with a variety of tools that would help them to generate materials via speech to text, audio recording, decoding using Google Lens, search using images rather than text or speech. After the demonstration, learners were given a task to practice, so they could do that at their own pace, to their own ability. Where topics were more complex, we would cover that in another class if they needed more time, or where they understood very quickly, we move on that little bit faster. Learners were given the opportunity to say or write what topics would be beneficial to them. 7.2, learning outcomes were relevant to all of the learners in our centre. It was very clear what the purpose of the course was and that the learners wanted to participate in it. For every topic we covered, there was a task for the learners to test out and complete themselves, incorporating practical learning. This allowed for them to move toward being independent learners, but in a supportive environment where they could ask for help if they got stuck while experimenting with their newfound skills. There was individual and group discussion, anonymous feedback, and formal as well. So if we look at 8.2, learners were encouraged to work at their own pace and to the degree they felt comfortable. There was no formal assessments, which gave us great flexibility in this regard. I deliberately looked at web apps and extensions that could be used on all devices. So I provided information on how to use the tools on both Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome and Apple devices as well, to make sure that all learners, no matter what device they had, were supported, and it was tailored to their individual needs as well. So if we look at 8.3, the first step here was fostering collaboration and community within the classroom. Learners then went out and were having discussions with other learners in the centre at lunchtime, and they really wanted to join the class as well, but unfortunately we were at max capacity. So where I could, in other computer classes and things like that, we tried to deliver that information. And of course, sharing the knowledge with other tutors in this centre, and in the future, Dundrum AES is creating that collaborative community for tutors as well. So this section, I'm going to take all three together. While I did not offer a customizable digital version of the printout, I did show them how to do these things for themselves on websites. So that was the purpose of the course, to be able to use Read Aloud, to be able to, use the immersive reader and change the settings to suit them. They did have access to video materials, which they could vary the speed of and use closed captions if they wanted to. And they also had physical objects to use and practice with, rather than just discuss it or watch it or hear it. So there was a glossary of icons and an explanation of terms discussed at the start of every topic, and a printout with the visual and text explanation was beside it, making it very clear what each icon was or what the technical jargon meant. For 2.4, by demonstrating how to use the Translate tool online in Edge and Chrome and Google Lens, I supported learners with a language barrier, and I went further with this in the tutor manual, showing tutors how to add additional languages into Microsoft Forms. So this will enable ESOL tutors who have learners who are non-native English speakers to feel more supported and express their knowledge in a way that suits them best. For 2.5, we had discussion. There was a demonstration, there was a printout, there was visuals, there was screenshots, as well as text. We practiced in the class using the technology. They were able to ask for support if they felt they needed it. They could email me at any time as well. YouTube videos were sent out to them to watch in their own time as often as they felt they needed it. And in terms of background knowledge, so with the learners, this is really integral to adult learning. So every literacy tutor would start a new concept by anchoring it to existing knowledge, giving real world examples, or drawing on the learner's own life experiences. In terms of the tutor manual, I provide background knowledge on some of the learning disabilities that we might encounter in the centre, but it just helps them to make a decision on what tools or assessments might work best for them. But each learner is individual, so that's really a case by case basis. So for 3.3, we started with basic information and gradually built up to the assistive technology topic of that class. So I would demonstrate how to get online, use your internet tools, and then introduce the concept of Read Aloud, how to use it, how to customize it, and then how to use it in Chrome or different applications. There was multiple entry points to discuss the demo, the notes to try it yourself, the video notes for home, and the information followed a logical manner in terms of progression and the learner abilities as well. So for 4.1, as mentioned before, the learners were being taught the skills so they could vary the methods for response and for navigation. And for 4.2, this is the entire purpose of the course, to enable them to use assistive technology. So multiple forms of media were used to impart information to learners and for learners to share their knowledge and feedback with me, as previously discussed. And then the impact, so measuring the impact. So we had a 100% completion rate, which was really excellent for that 6-week course. And just some of the feedback at the end of it, what have you learned? So there was lots of different pieces coming up here, which was great. And everyone kind of found something that was useful or beneficial to them. So they found it relevant, useful, and that the information was varied as well. So what was the different ways that you learned? Again, kinesthetic. So we looked at the different ways that people learn, and that was a new word for some of them. So I'm delighted that that appeared in that feedback, that it really stuck with them as well. So some of the verbal feedback that I got, so I can use text to speech to send emails and WhatsApp. It has made my life so much easier. It was great. I loved it. I'd love to do more. It really helped me to do work in other classes, not just this one. And there will be no football watch tonight in my house. I'll be too busy trying out Read Aloud, which I loved. And I loved the videos. I played them on my TV and then could follow along on my laptop. So wider UDL recognition, so some positive feedback from one of the tutors who received it, who's going to use it in their courses, and is going to consider doing the UDL badge as well. There's a couple of tutors in the centre who kind of have a little bit of fear around technology. So some of them might be kind of, playing the longer game or just planting the seeds at the moment. But I have had a couple of conversations with some other tutors. So I know that there are 2 tutors that are strongly considering doing that UDL badge in September, when it comes up. So this is just evidence of me sharing resources with other tutors. We're working on a project with another tutor at the moment, so she's able to come into my class, we're teaching it together, and she can observe those UDL practices and then sharing the actual physical resources as well, so she can use those in her own practice as well. So future plans. So there's going to be a group workshop for tutors in the Dún Laoghaire AES and Dundrum. So it's in person. They can ask questions if they need any more information about the resources that have been sent out. So incorporating the learning from this pilot scheme into all the classes that I deliver. Using clay, so physically making an alphabet with one of the ITABI groups is something that I'd love to be able to do with them in September. Again, just making it a little bit more practical and learner led, because they have requested to use some art materials in the class. Using the C pen with some of the more advanced learners who just need to improve their vocabulary. Creating more videos to make information more accessible to learners. Using reading coach with some of the learners who struggle with reading but kind of have a little bit of tech knowledge as well. I would love to create a website and create information, notes, and create videos to upload to that. The sewing class that I teach, one of the learners has ADHD and she learns best with videos. So she records the demonstration in the class and she'll share that then in a WhatsApp group that they've set up. But I would love for her to take the pressure off herself and have all of that pre-done before the course starts. So she then just has that resource to go to. I'm also going to incorporate polls into the class. So using a poll, what items would you like to sew in the sewing class? What cultures would you like to investigate in the intercultural awareness courses? So using that more frequently with the class, and of course continuing to spread the word of UDL with all of the tutors in our centre and in Dundrum, and continuing to use that +1 approach as well. And then the main future plan is I have investigated actually doing a master's in UDL. So I've contacted Niamh and Maureen in IT Sligo, and I'm going to apply for this once all of my portfolios are in and everything is settled down a little bit. So hopefully undertaking then the postgrad cert in September, which will be rolled into a master's the following year. So thank you for listening to my UDL approach with my project, and hopefully you enjoyed it.